Everyone. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Welcome to another episode of the He Said, She Said Sports Talk podcast. We are your hosts. I am Big Red along with Tony. What's good, Tony? How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good Labor Day?
Yeah, I did have a good Labor Day. As we know, Labor Day was this past weekend. How about you? How did you enjoy your weekend?
Yeah, I mean it was good. Always working, but I did see something funny WNBA related. Our good friends, the Stud Buds, one
Okay.
of them was on a post-game interview and she was saying something. She hit it was a teaspoon, and she hit like a bank shot and she's like, I didn't
Uh,
know the bank was open on President's Day. And everybody was like, girl, it's Labor Day. So
oh
she didn't
yeah.
even know
Oh,
her
got the wrong
day.
day. She got the
So,
wrong day.
in case you were curious, it was Labor Day weekend.
Yes, it was Labor Day weekend. Real quick, we're going to touch on a couple NFL signings that happened, the trades that happened. Obviously, Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys traded him to the Green Bay Packers in exchange for a couple first-round picks. And then he ended up signing the deal, making him the highest non-paid quarterback in league. So, how do you feel about that? And real quick on touching on that trade, and also your boy Trey Hendrickson as well signed a one-year deal with the Bengals, getting him signed and ready to go for the season. So, what's your take on those
Yeah,
signings?
I think Micah Parsons, obviously anywhere he goes, he makes them a scary defense. So the Packers definitely upgraded. I know a lot of Dallas fans are probably disappointed that they let him go. However, they do
Hmm.
get a 2026 and 27 first round picks. You also get three-time Pro Bowler Kenny Clark. So there was some pickup from the Cowboys, and it does seem like they're investing in their future. So
Sure, yeah,
try to look at it that way, Cowboys fans. Um,
yeah,
I know a lot of people were very disappointed. And then
yeah.
Trey Hendrickson, it's a $14 million pay raise for the year. So
Hmm.
it's just a restructured version of his current deal that continues for the rest of the year. So just a bit of a
Yeah.
raise. It brings his 2025 salary to 30 million, which is
Hmm.
I think totally fair. And it gives them time. It gives everybody time to assess, right? Bengals weren't sure if they wanted to invest long term in a future with a 30-year-old edge rusher. And Trey Hendrickson wants some stability. This is a great opportunity for him to prove that
So,
exactly what he is and see if they want to continue with the Bengals. The only other thing I'll say on it is everybody said that the Bengals couldn't do it. They couldn't sign all of these guys. They couldn't get all these deals done. Here we are at the beginning of the season. They got all these deals done, and
mhm.
now all the critics are saying that, they spent too much money. So pick
Well,
your poison. The Bengals
yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
win. I saw that nobody on Good Morning Football picked them as even a playoff team this year, which
Oh,
is
wow.
kind of crazy in my opinion.
Yeah, it
But
is.
yeah, to
It
have
is
not
crazy.
one pick the Bengals to even be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wild to me. But that's pretty much it. All the holdouts and hold-ins, they're all over. Everybody's everybody's
Signs. Let's see
time.
how this ball gets to rolling. Yeah, for sure, definitely. Um, on that note, just so you guys know, on this show going forward, we would just be speaking on college football. We would speak on other sports news, but college football specifically. Any NFL news and updates you can find on my page, which is at Big Red PTP on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, moving forward. On that note, we're going to get to college football because there was a big weekend in that. Obviously, we had a game last night, TCU versus Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Um, first game, first rough game for Bill Belichick and them boys. What was your take on it? They lost 48-14. TCU basically dominated the game out the gate. North Carolina's quarterback Gio Lopez struggled. He got hurt. Max Johnson came in. He looked good in spurts, but it was just too late for them to try to come back. TCU had too much momentum. But what's your take on Bill Belichick in his first year? Obviously, in my opinion, I think it's going to take some time. People kind of think it was just going to happen right away. Those aren't his recruits necessarily that are in there. So, what's your take on the game last night, though?
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't, when you look at the key stats, it looks really bad, right? Specifically for Belichick. It was also one of the
Mhm.
worst losses in program history, but it's the most points allowed in a game in Bill Belichick's career as head coach. It's the second worst loss of his career, and he's trailed by 34 plus points only four times in 511 games as a head coach. Those don't look like great stats when
Yeah.
you look at them just on paper like that. But it
Uh,
is his first game coaching a college and NCAA program. And as you said, you can't expect that turnaround to be overnight. And it's a huge adjustment, right? The NFL is a it's a defensive league, right? All the
yeah.
teams are fairly evenly matched because you have, 32 teams and it's all NFL talent on those teams. Um,
Mhm.
and so you're just finally finding out how big a talent disparity there is at the NCAA level that doesn't exist at the professional level. So
Yeah.
the differentials between the good teams, the bad teams, even the good teams and the middle teams, I just think that maybe there was a miscalculation on his part about how big that differential is because he doesn't
Yeah.
have
How
that
much?
experience.
Yes, I agree. 'Cause like I said, North Carolina, they're just not ready yet. They got some recruits coming in next year for sure. But I think that he needs a little bit of time for sure. Fans kind of get ahead of themselves looking at his NFL history, obviously. Probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, coach of all time. But yeah, it's gonna take some time for him for sure. TCU did look good. The quarterback looked good. They look like to be a promising contender for the Big 12. Their defense continues to play like that, for sure.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. They did look strong. I do think UNC's opening drive looked really strong. They
mhm,
then continued, they trailed for the rest of the game. But that opening drive that looked promising. There's still talent on that team. There's still room for improvement. Like this is week one, right?
yeah,
Like, there's so
yeah.
much room for growth and change and adjustments to be made. So it is way too early to say too
hmm
much.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely. It's too early to get too worried or panic too soon. But um, let's talk about the top 10 matchups that we had over the weekend. We had a few big games. Obviously, the biggest game being Ohio State versus Texas. And the Horseshoe ended up being a close game. Um, Final score 14-7. Ohio State pretty much shut Texas out until the fourth quarter, till late in that game. But what was your take on that game and Arch Manning and things like that? And are you concerned for Texas, or just what's your take on that?
Yeah, I want to start again. It's week one. I am
Mhm.
not worried yet. It's far too early to make any definitive statements about anyone.
Yeah,
Arch Manning is a young guy. It's essentially, a rookie start for him, right? Like this is his first season as the
and a
starter.
big game too. It's not like
And it's a massive game. So,
yeah,
and I don't think that there's ever been more hype around a quarterback coming into the start of a college football season.
yeah,
And to top it all off, you're playing the defending champions, right? So it is a massive game. There's got to be a lot of nerves going on. The three words that I have to describe Arch Manning in that game: indecisive, inaccurate, rattled. He
yeah.
just looked nervous. And
hmm
you know, he ended up going 17 for 30, but he was 0 for 5 on passes 5 yards or more downfield for the first three quarters. It's that
Yeah.
fourth quarter where he started to come alive.
hmm
He did make four big time throws in the last 9 minutes of that game that were impressive to me and looked promising to me.
Yeah.
But he also had a chance to come down the field in the fourth quarter with like 2.5 minutes left to either tie it up or go for a win. Like he had a chance to drive down the field very much Manning style, all the lights away on the road, massive game.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. So
Mhm.
am I worried? Not yet. Was
No,
it the
me
start
either.
we were all expecting? No.
Nah, see, I see that's the thing too. Like Texas fans and stuff, and he's getting a lot of we all know it was going to go either way. If he would win the game, the train would be crazy. If he loses the game, it's like he's not ready or he's going to suck. It's just like you got to think. Ohio State had a good defense out there. Matt Patricia coached a great game. He schemed very well against Arch for that to be his first big game. Texas is going to be fine. I think Arch is going to be fine. I think he just needs a few little squeaker games to get under his belt, get comfortable. It was real loud in that stadium,
Yeah.
tough atmosphere to play in. I do think Texas will be fine. They do got a lot of work to do, especially like in the run game and things like that. But their defense will be fine. I think Arch will be fine too. Shout out to Ohio State. They did what they had to do to play the game. Julian Sain looked calm out there. Um, Obviously Jeremiah Smith, he didn't have the game that everybody thought he was going to have, which I kind of knew that wasn't going to happen. I kind of knew it was going to be a low scoring game, kind of a grit game. But the O line and D line of the Buckeyes was real tough, and made it uncomfortable for Arch in a lot of situations. But I think he'll be fine for sure going forward, definitely.
Yeah,
But
I definitely think this Ohio State team is absolutely a team that can repeat. They, even with the eight new starters, right?
yeah,
They look like they're going to have another top defensive team again. And specifically for Ohio State, they need to beat Illinois, Penn State, and Michigan.
yeah.
And then I think you're all set to make the playoff again.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It definitely looks promising. Still got a lot more to see from Junior Sean, but he looked calm, cool, and collective out there. The moment wasn't too big for him. Um, he would have his numbers would have been a lot better if those he had some guys had a few drops out there. Jeremiah had two of them, so Um, but another game. Let's talk about another game. Miami Notre Dame. This was an interesting game for sure. You got a veteran quarterback, Carson Beck, against the redshirt freshman, CJ Carr. Miami ended up winning the game. But what was your take on the game, and what were your thoughts on the game as well?
I think my biggest takeaway, I have two. I have two really big takeaways from this game. Number one, and this is about Miami, their D line is absolutely dominant. Notre Dame
Yes,
has an elite run game, and
shut it down.
they shut it down. They held them to just 3.3 yards per carry on the game, which is,
Mm,
you know, uh, it's super impressive. So if that defensive line continues to look like that and they can stop the run like that, I mean, it's going to be a very effective defense, which sets Carson Beck up really well offensively.
yeah,
Uh, and then for Notre Dame, yes, it wasn't a brutal beatdown, but this is one of two top 20 teams on Notre Dame's schedule, right? They have a bye week next week, and then they play Texas A&M, the only other top 20 team on the schedule.
yeah,
This is now you're looking at a week three playoff eliminator for Notre Dame. They go and lose to Texas A&M, they're likely not making the playoffs. Even at this rate, losing to a
Mhm.
to a top 10 team in opening week is cause for concern for a team that hasn't loaded up their schedule.
Yeah. And I just don't think CJ Carr looked promising out there. Don't get me wrong. He made a few mistakes out there, obviously, in his first start, but he did show some promise out there for sure. I just don't think besides Jeremiah Love, they don't have enough weapons to get through the season. And to me, their defense doesn't, right as of right now, doesn't look to be strong enough as either to hold up. So you're right. You're absolutely right. That game against Texas A&M is going to be a huge game for the playoff committee to look at and see, what Notre Dame really is, because other than maybe USC on their schedule, they don't really have much, so it's imperative for them to get these wins early, and hopefully, CJ Carr can muster that. But Carson Beck, what'd you think of his game? A lot of criticism about him. He had a kind of a polarized offseason, transferring to Miami, getting a lot of money. He had a girlfriend. who played on the basketball team. They kind of had a breakup that was kind of publicized. So he had a lot of going on. He showed a lot of emotion during the game and after the game in his interview. He played well. Miami, like you said, their defense looked good. They got weapons on offense. I'm still concerned about their running game, but what do you think about Carson back out there? And do you
Yeah.
think Miami can contend for the ACC with Clemson?
Um, if the defensive line continues to be as dominant as they are, I do
Yeah.
think, they're a good matchup with Clemson and they can challenge Clemson. Offensively, yeah, like you said, Carson Beck had a very solid performance, a good performance. 20 for
Yeah.
31, 205 yards. There's a lot there to look at. It looks like you have a couple of different receivers, a couple of different running backs that are doing a lot of the work. So there is definitely some splits there. You have weapons to work with. Um,
Mhm.
I'd like to see more from them. I mean, they put up 27 points.
Yeah,
It's
they definitely got a lot
good
more to
performance.
do as far as being a championship contender, but
I don't
uh
think they're a championship contender. I would not say that. But I do think they can
oh,
challenge Clemson for the
I
ACC.
mean playoff contender, not necessarily champion.
Okay.
Let me correct myself because you're right. I don't think they're a championship contender either. But in order for them to make the playoffs, Carson Beck is definitely going to have to play out of his mind, my opinion. Miami's defense kind of had it easy, in my opinion. Not necessarily easy, but they had a new quarterback trying to get his first start. Doesn't have really that much experience. They're going to play a lot of tougher teams um, with a lot of experienced quarterbacks this season, but then Notre Dame. So just going to be curious to see how they handle that. But let's talk about the last game from the top 10
There's
matchups.
I would say there's two games we got to talk about. There's one more top 10 matchup we got to talk about, but we also need to talk about Alabama FSU.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that for sure. Definitely. But we're going to talk about LSU Clemson real quick. Um, LSU ended up getting the win in a close game out in Death Valley, whichever, out in Clemson, whichever Death Valley you choose. But what was your take on it, the game?
Yeah, I mean, we've both said it in our preseason uh episode
Yeah,
that we think LSU is a contender.
yeah.
Watching them actually play, the revamped defense absolutely makes them a title contender. You look
Hmm.
at their 2023, 2024 seasons, they have the most efficient offense in the country, but some of the worst defensive performances in the country.
Yeah.
This defense handled a top-ranked offense in Clemson. They blitzed Cade Klubnik on 67% of dropbacks. This is a significantly improved defense that can take this team to a national title.
No, I agree with you for sure. Garrett Nussmeier had a decent game, like you said. The running game definitely needs to pick up more, but they have the pieces there for sure on offense. I like their tight end too, big, lanky guy, athletic guy. I think his name's Derez Green. But no, their defense is solid. Perkins and them guys and Weeks and them guys look awesome out there. They look great. And like I said, the LSU is my pick to win the SEC. So if they can keep playing like this, they're going to be tough for sure. Definitely. Cade Klubnik kind of struggled. Like you said, he was getting pressured a lot. He had the one interception. But I think Clemson will be fine in the ACC. I don't think Clemson fans should be worried. I mean, one loss to a top-ranked SEC team is not going to hurt them first game of the year. There's no need to panic there. Clemson will be just fine in the ACC moving forward, definitely. So I wouldn't panic if I was them. But let's talk about the other game, the Florida State Alabama. A lot of talk about this game. There's a lot of stories behind this game for sure. What you want to touch on as far as this game? Obviously, Florida State won the game, dominating fashion. Alabama just didn't look the same. They looked slow. to me, they look slow. They weren't attacking the ball on defense. Florida State just was pushing them around, and just something you weren't expecting to see on day one, especially with Florida State season last year coming into this year. So, what was your take on that game?
Yeah. So obviously the talk surrounding this game was the Florida State quarterback saying Tommy Castellanos,
Yeah,
he said
Castellanos,
something along the lines
Nick
of
Saban can't save you.
he said they don't have Nick Saban. Nick Saban can't save them. They can't
Hmm.
stop me.
Yeah,
Right? Um, a
backed it up
lot
too.
of talk. It's a lot of talk. It was backed up because they couldn't stop him.
Couldn't stop him. He did his thing for sure.
They could
Well,
not stop him. And yeah, I mean, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. And this is an Alabama team that is so rooted in who they were that I don't
mhm.
think they know who they are in this new era.
Yeah. Well, see, I think this is my thing. This is like just being a realist, right? Like even from Ohio State, like I'm a Buckeye fan, right? From the days of Urban Meyer. When Urban Meyer left,
Mhm.
Ryan Day came in. Me personally, I knew there was going to be a little struggle for Ohio State, until Ryan Day could catch his groove. It's always that when you have a legendary coach that leaves like Nick Saban, who's probably the greatest coach in college football, you got to expect some kind of drop off. You can't expect the coach to just come in and just keep that going to on that level.
Mm.
Nick Saban was on such a high level that you know that doesn't come around or happen that often, or if ever. So
Yeah.
for people to come in and keep the train rolling, they were bugging, in my opinion. I think they need to give them a little more time. Alabama does, but you know. We'll see. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but I think they got to give Caleb a little time for sure. They can't expect him to be Nick Saban. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I do think that, I was always surprised with the Kalen DeBoer hiring because he runs a completely different program, or he ran a
Yeah.
completely different program at Washington than Nick Saban did at Alabama. They just are
Mhm.
opposing styles, realistically. So
Yeah.
to be playing with the guys that were recruited in the Saban era, some of the people that were recruited in the Saban era not even coming anymore, having to re-recruit. There's
Hmm.
just going to be a learning curve.
Yeah.
Um, but ultimately it's Alabama and it's a program that is historic and will eventually bounce back. But you may have a couple of down years. That is what it is. Uh,
Yeah. You can't keep that level of play. Like Nick Saban just set, such a crazy high standard, that's never been done before. You can't imagine Caleb DeBoer to keep that level of,
yeah.
you know, type
And
of thing where it's winning national championships every other year. It's not going to happen just like that with every coach. Bama just going to have to be a little patient. Like you said, I do think they will bounce back too. I do agree with you on that. It's just going to take some time for sure.
yeah,
Definitely.
and I do think that kind of brings me to my biggest takeaway from week 1
Hmm.
overall is experience at the quarterback position still matters. That's my biggest takeaway. Look at the teams that have their experienced veteran leader, right? LSU with
Hmm.
Newsmeyer looked fantastic,
Yeah.
right?
You could still say Clemson too.
You can still say Clemson. I don't think there shouldn't be too much panic on Cade Klubnik. I still think
Yeah.
he handled that offense fine.
Hmm.
Whereas Arch Manning, Ty Simpson at Alabama, they struggled a lot with decision making. And
Yeah.
the same can be said, right, in the NFL. I saw something recently with Tom Brady talking about how there's a lot of inexperience at that quarterback position now as they come in and they don't sit behind guys the same way. And so
Hmm.
the experience at quarterback matters at every level of this game. And we're seeing that really clearly. Even even Carson Beck's performance, right? He's new to Miami. He has
Yeah.
had experience leading and quarterbacking an SEC team. So he's
Hmm.
prepared for these moments where Notre Dame's quarterback, right, Carr,
Yeah.
struggled. So a lot of these games,
Bright future, but struggled. You're right.
right,
Yeah.
a lot of these games, you're seeing the experience outweigh the hype, the athleticism, all of these other things, mostly based on decision making, which is a
Mhm.
learned skill.
Yeah. No, definitely. Um, I definitely I agree with you. Like you said, experience at the quarterback definitely is going to matter. The only situations where I can see they wouldn't, just because there's so much talent on those teams, would be like Oregon, Ohio State, those type of teams because there's so much talent. You're absolutely right about needing a veteran quarterback, but speaking of veteran quarterbacks, I'm going to shout out a couple of the young guys who got their first starts this year in command and look pretty good to seem to have bright futures. Um, I'm gonna go with Malik Washington from Maryland. He looked real good. Um, Austin Simmons from Ole Miss. I like him a lot. He's a lefty. He's a sleeper too. Like in a year or two, he'll be a Heisman candidate in my opinion. Um, Obviously, Julian saying Dante Moore from Oregon looked good. Demond Washington from Washington, Bryce Underwood from Michigan. He's got a huge game next week against Oklahoma, so we really get to see what he's going to do. Bear Backmeyer from BYU, he looks good too. And the guy from California, I know I'm going to slaughter his name for sure, but I think it's like they call him JKS for short. I'm about to slaughter his name,
It's
but it's
Saga Palutele, right? Or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Hmm.
Kiwan Sagapalutele, whatever it is. But he's a lefty too. He's real nice. Shout out to all those guys making their first year as starters. Some of those guys are freshmen, redshirt freshmen, or sophomores, but they all have bright futures. Shout out to them. Another thing I wanted to touch on from week one is Lenore Sellers is a sleeper Heisman. He didn't put up the crazy stats. Virginia Tech's defense is tough. I will say that I did not expect for them to play that well. Their defense is definitely tough, but I think he'll be a sleeper Heisman. Also, Kansas State struggling. I know they were my preseason pick for the Big 12. They barely beat North Dakota by 3. Obviously, lost to Iowa State in Dublin week 1 or week 0.
It may
Uh,
be early, but I actually think Utah looks like the team to beat in the Big 12.
Utah looks good. They look good for
Now,
sure. Devin
UCLA
Dampier
looked lost,
lost.
but
Yeah, that whole thing is blown up for sure with Nico and all that. I still think he could still have a decent season, obviously, but man, he looked bad for his first game for sure. But Devin Dampier for Utah, the New Mexico transfer, he's looking good. Utah's definitely looking tough, like they're going to be in the mix for the Big 12 for sure. And last from my takes from week one, shout out to Kent State. They had the longest losing streak in college football at 21 games. They finally won a game, 21-17 over Merrimack. So shout out to them boys for getting a victory.
mhm.
Hopefully they can keep it going. I doubt it, but hopefully they can keep it going. Shout out to them for ending that streak, though.
Yeah.
With that being said, do you have
Let's
any
I don't have anything else to say about week one too much other than let's kind of go through some of the shakeups in this top 20.
it's top 25?
Yeah.
Yes. Let's do that. Obviously, there's a new number one, which
Ohio State takes over for Texas as the number one after
yeah,
beating them.
uh-huh.
Absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, you got Penn State 2, LSU 3.
LSU took a big bump. They were at nine
Yeah.
previously, so now they're sitting at three. Also, we didn't touch on Penn State at all. Drew Aller looked phenomenal. I
Did
mean,
he? I did not even watch none of Penn State or look at
Drew
any of them.
Aller, what was his freaking style? He looked great. He was 22 for 26, 217 yards and touchdown. He
Okay.
looked great. They beat Nevada 46 to 11.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, not a, it's
I
Nevada,
figured they were going to beat
but
Nevada big for sure.
yeah, but it is, it's still Mountain West team, so you
No, definitely.
know,
Miami moved up to 5, Oregon 6, Texas dropped to 7,
mhm.
Clemson 8, Notre Dame 9,
Yeah, those are the biggest fallouts right there. Texas, Clemson, and Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Those are the biggest falls, I think.
I think who do you think there's anybody there that should have been lower or higher as far as the top 25?
No,
I
I
think they got it kind of right for sure.
I think it's pretty spot on. I mean, Florida
Yeah,
State
yeah.
sits way back in there, maybe a little too high after
Yeah,
everything.
that's what I was going to say too.
I
Florida State
think
is a
I
little
think from
high.
going non-ranked to
Ranked
being
to
in,
14 is crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Florida, the Florida Gators, held a team to 0 points. They
Mhm.
held Long Island University to 0. They beat
Yeah.
them 55 to 0.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
they balled. I did check out some of that highlights of Florida. They
I
definitely
just
look.
I just think the stats are crazy. They held LIU to 86 total yards.
Yeah, yeah. No, it sounds about right. I was checking out some of them highlights. That freshman receiver they got, Vernon Brown, is nice out there. He was killing them. But yeah, no. Hopefully Long Island can bounce back from that. They won't play nobody tougher than Florida.
No, I think that's the only
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only
yeah.
tough team on their schedule. So
But
they'll be okay. But that's
you
hilarious.
had Oklahoma move up to 18, and Michigan's at 15. So that next week's matchup will
Becomes
look
a top 20. Yeah.
yeah, be a top 20 matchup for sure. I would say keep an eye. I'm going to say keep an eye out on Ole Miss. Surprised to see Texas Tech slowly move up in the top 25 too. There's been a lot of money getting put into Texas Tech. They're getting a lot of recruits. They got the number one recruit from the 2027 class already signed. They just got a number one offensive lineman, two of the top offensive linemen signed. So they're like putting some heavy money into the NIL to get those recruits in there for sure.
Yeah. And then actually the biggest drop off, because I think I said that before, but Alabama dropped from 8 to 21. So
Oh yeah.
that is definitely the biggest drop. Although
Hmm.
going from 1 to 7 feels as significant
Yeah.
for Texas, but to drop out of not only out of the top 10, but out of the top 20 for Alabama, that's a big
Uh-huh.
deal.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. So hopefully they can get that going. As far as next week, only real big game to me is like we talked about Oklahoma versus Michigan. Uh, let's really quickly talk about just a matchup and what we think is going to happen in that game. And top quarterback. They got two quarterbacks, John Mateer from who transferred in from Washington State. He had a good first game for Oklahoma as well. Athletic guy can run. Then obviously the number one quarterback coming out of high school, Bryce Underwood, saying he's a prodigy. He's one of those ones. Came right in, took the starting job. Um, I'm pretty sure a couple guys will be hitting the portal from Michigan because of that here soon. But what's your take on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really could go either way. I think I have Oklahoma for this.
Yeah,
Be interesting to see. It's in Oklahoma. I do think that
it
gives them
is in
an
Oklahoma.
edge.
Yeah,
Um, and Mateer had a really impressive performance last week. So
yeah, no,
I
definitely.
think I'd give the edge to Oklahoma, but I do think it's gonna be a fun matchup. And it's probably gonna be the most fun matchup of the week just because there's not much else going on.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody else pretty much plays, a few little cupcakes. Hopefully, there are not too many upsets next weekend. It'll be
I
bad.
know we could be talking about some major upsets, right?
Yeah, but No, I think you're right. I think Oklahoma does have the edge. But I kind of want to choose Michigan in this game. Um, but I don't know. I think Oklahoma will win, but I think it'll be close, and I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan did go in there and win. Obviously, it's going to depend on Bryce Underwood and his play. We're not sure what Michigan's defense is yet. I mean, they played New Mexico their first game, so this is going to be a test for them for sure. That crowd in Norman's going to be rocking. So, like I said, I got Oklahoma as well in that game for sure.
Yeah.
But on that note, you guys, we appreciate you guys for listening in to the He Says, She Says Sports Talk podcast. We are your hosts. I am Big Red. This is Tony. We appreciate you guys. And as always, it is love and peace.